Rabbeinu Yoine, Shari Tshuva, tells us how would a person behave if he was summoned to the court. And not just a court, but the high court, where they are going to judge him for life and death. How would a person behave? Would he stay and do nothing? Of course not. He would try his utmost to prepare all kinds of defense, the best lawyers, and if he can do it, also he would try to if it's possible, to bribe the jury or the judge or the prosecutor, the one who accuses. Only we know that it's not possible to bribe, it's not possible to influence usually the judge or the jury, but he would try to get the best lawyers. And so what about us when we know that in a week's time we are being called to the court, to the highest court, the court of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rosh Hashanah? So of course we have to prepare ourselves to see what are the things we can do in order to be Zoiche Badin, in order to be acquitted, as we say to each other, the Broche Ksive Chasim Toive Rishon Teiva Tikose V'Sechosed, and we daven for a good gebenchte Yor. But that doesn't take away the fact that we are going to be judged. And the Torah tells us what to do in order to prepare ourselves for that judgment. Especially that the judge is none other than Avinu Malkeinu, the Rabbeinu Shel Olam, who is our Father, our King. So of course, if someone would be called in front of a judge and he recognizes his Father, he has nothing to worry. But with one condition only: if his Father recognizes him as his son. Sometimes that could happen, that he recognizes his father, but the father doesn't recognize his son, because his son has behaved like a criminal. He didn't behave like a son, he behaved like a gangster. And his father sees in front of him such an evil person, and he doesn't recognize him as his son. We say in the tefillah after the tkiyas, Ayoim Arasoilom, Ayoim Yamid Ba'mishpot Kol Yitzurei Oilomim. Today is the day of the creation of the world. Rosh Hashanah is the day of the creation of the world. Today is going to bring into justice all the creatures of the world, im kevonim, im kavodim, either like children or like servants. What does it mean, either like children or like sons? Like children or like servants? It all depends how we behave. If we behave like servants, then he will judge us like servants. If we behave like children, good children, so then he'll judge us as children. So here is one thing to do already, to prepare ourselves for Yom Adin, that the Rabbeinu Shalom should recognize us as children. So, if we have made so many averes that hide our features of the children of Hashem, Bonim atem l'Hashem Elokechem, we have to have a good wash, and so that our real identity should be seen at the time of the judgment. The Rabbeinu Shalom should recognize that, yes, you are my children. Another thing that we can prepare ourselves for the day of the judgment is, Chazal say, Adon es chaveroi b'chav zechus, the one who judges his neighbor for the good, he is not in a hurry to condemn his neighbor. On the contrary, he tries to find excuses why his neighbor behaved like this or like that. Adon es chaveroi b'chav zechus, the one who judges his neighbor for the good, Dodim oisei lechav zechus, in heaven also midde keneged midde, the Rabbeinu Shalom judges him for the good. So we wanted the Rabbeinu Shalom should judge us for the good, of course. Well, we should know that in order that the Rabbeinu Shalom should judge us for the good, we also have to judge our neighbors and the people around us for the good. So now is the time to forget and forgive, to do tshuva ben adam l'chaveroi, all the matters which we had with other people. We should try to see the good in them, to excuse them. They did not mean what we thought they meant, or they were taken by circumstances which made them behave like that. And as much as we are done them lechav zechus, as much as we are judging them with clemency, so the Rabbeinu Shalom also will judge us with clemency, and will also find ways to excuse our behavior, that we had reasons and circumstances which made it for us to misbehave towards him and towards other people. So this is the second thing that we can do in order to have a good judgment. The third thing, we are going to ask in the Tefillah, Rachem Oleinu, Boine Shalom, have pity on us, forgive us, help us to do good, grant us a good new year. But in order that our tefillahs should be answered, have pity on us, and the Rabbeinu Shalom should grant us all what we wish for the good, we should also have pity in our heart for all the creatures of Hashem. For all the creatures of Hashem, Kol hamerachem al habriyos merachmim olav min hashomayim. All those who have pity on the briyos, on the creatures of Hashem. See, we say al habriyos, Kol hamerachem al habriyos. We don't say Kol hamerachem al bnei Odom. We don't say just the one who has pity on people, but Kol hamerachem al habriyos, the one who has pity on the creatures. And it means it includes even animals. As we know the story of Rabbeinu HaKodesh with the calf, because he didn't have pity on the calf, so he was punished. And then he was saved from these sufferings when he had pity on the little animals. Because it says in the Pasuk, V'rachabov al kol ma'asov. The pity of Hashem is on all his doings, all his creatures, all what he made in the world. The person has to have pity. A person cannot beg for mercy if he himself doesn't have mercy on others. That is illogical. How can you ask for mercy when you yourself do not have mercy on others? So that is another point which we have to make good before we come to Rosh Hashanah. We should increase our rachmanis on people, especially on the people who are very close to us, the members of our family, and the neighbors, to increase our kindness, our pity, our rachmanis on the people around us, so that we should be zoiche, that the Kodesh should have pity on us as well. Chas v'sholem, chas v'sholem, chas v'cholile, not to be cruel, not to be harsh and cruel towards those people, because a person, it works in both ways. Chas v'sholem, a person who is cruel with others, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is cruel with him. That's for sure. Another point is to avoid all kinds of dispute, to increase sholem, peace. Because Chazal say, when Yidden live in peace together, they love each other, they're united, then the Satan cannot accuse them of anything. On Rosh Hashanah, the Satan is mekatreg. The Satan accuses and he demands justice from everybody. The poor Eov, we know the tzores that Eov had, that was all because the Satan accused him on Rosh Hashanah. So, in order to muzzle the Satan, to shut the mouth of the Satan, we have to be in peace with everybody, to make our peace with everybody. Chazal say that when there is peace in the Yidden, amongst the Yidden, the Satan cannot be mekateh. He cannot accuse them of anything. And another point, we have to be careful also before Rosh Hashanah, to remember to do good to people who did us bad. From where do we learn this? We learn this from Rochel Imenu. We see from Rochel Imenu because she did good to her sister, Leah. Although her sister Leah did bad to her, because she took her place as the wife of Yaakov. And nevertheless, Rochel Imenu spared her the shame to be discovered that she's an impostor. And she gave her sister secret signs so that she should not be ashamed. So the Torah tells us, Vayizkor Elokim es Rochel, Elokim, which is Midas Hadin. And don't forget, when we speak about Midas Hadin, that includes the Satan. So that means, Vayizkor Elokim, Midas Hadin, remembered Rochel, and he gave her a child. Who gave her a child? Who remembered Rochel, a good deed she did with her sister? That is the Satan. In other words, not only on Rosh Hashanah we can expect, Be'ezras Hashem, that we can shut the mouth of the Satan, but we can even expect better, that the Satan will take our defense. And the Satan will say, this is such a good person, that instead of accusing that person and demanding a punishment against that person, I'm taking the defense of that person, and I want that person to have a very good year with Nisim, Beniflois, and Broche, and Atzloche, and Gesund, and Koltuf. And who is going to ask from the Rebbeinu Shalom? Who is going to ask for such a thing? The Satan himself. How can you do such a feat? How can you do this? Alvai, we could only just be valvel the Satan to confuse him. You shouldn't have time to be mekatreg, but that the Satan should want us to do good. Well, we see from Rochel Imenu. Vayizkor Elokim es Rochel. Elokim is Midas Hadin. How did she do that? We already explained previously in other shiurim that it depends on the person himself. if he himself takes his harshness when he's right to be harsh with that person, because that person is completely wrong. I've done nothing against that person. And out of the blue, that person comes to me, that person gives me a patch, or that person does me an avle. What do? Instead of taking a comment, instead of taking revenge, what do? Not only I forgive, but I even do good to that person. What does that mean? That means that you yourself have changed your din into pity, into rachamim. Although you would have been right to have something against that person, because that person was wrong and you were right. But you are changing your rights, your rights, you are forsaking your rights, and you say, I'm not going to take revenge. On the contrary, I'm going to do good to that person. So Mida Keneged Mida, the Rebbeinu Shel Olam also, he behaves the same. He changes his Midas Adin into Rachamim. That's how Rochel Imenu managed to do that feat. Vayizkoir Elokim, that even the Sultan took the defense of Rochel Imenu. So here is something which is extraordinary. We can manage on Rosh Hashanah such a tremendous feat by preparing ourselves, by taking a decision to always do good, even to those people who behave wrongly against us. To pay good for bad. So Baruch will do the same. He'll pay us good for bad. He'll pay us good for the bad we do, same as we do with others. That's how Kadosh Baruch Hu behaves. He behaves midah keneged midah. The same way we behave, so he behaves with us. What he said, Chazal say that Rebbeinu Shel Olam is like our shadow. He only waits until we move. And the way we move, right or left, we sit or we get up, so he behaves with us. It's a duplicata. The Rebbeinu Shel Olam's behavior with us is a duplicata of our behavior with other people. So that's how Rochel Imenu managed. So we have to learn from Rochel Imenu. We have to learn from her. And when we know what we can get through such a behavior, then it's not hard. People will say, but I'm only human. Yes, you're only human when you don't know what you get in return. But if you know you can change the Gezar Din of Rosh Hashanah into a beautiful day, a day where the Rebbeinu Shel Olam is going to decree on us, Nisim v'niflois, Yeshuas v'nechomes. And he says in the Pasuk, Eftach lochem arubas hashomayim v'rikoisi lochem brocho ad b'lidai. I'm going to open up the gates of heaven and shower you with brochas until you'll be tired to say enough. And we can do such a thing on Rosh Hashanah. Then we won't say, well, I'm only human. I can't do it. I'm only human. We will do it, and how? We will do it, and how? Because we know what is at stake. And we know that it's only hard because we don't know what we get in return. You know, someone tells you, I'm going to wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah? What? To do a mitzvah. Shigeh, there is no other time. But if someone wakes you up 3 o'clock in the morning and says, you know what? 3 o'clock in the morning, I know somewhere there is a treasure. So you won't say it's hard. So hard and easy doesn't depend on the matter itself. It depends on what you get from it. And here we can get from it such a Rosh Hashanah, such a Yom Adin, that the Yom Adin, the Sultan himself, will take our defense. And that's what Rochel Imenu managed to do. Vayizkor Elokim es lochem. Chazal say, Tzadikim hapchi midas adin de midas rachamim. Not only Rochel, all the tzadikim, they change the midas adin into rachamim. How do they do that? To change midas adin into midas rachamim? Because they do like Rochel Imenu did. They change midas adin into midas rachamim. We can also do it, just in our mind, by leaving away, letting go of all our bitterness, which we have accumulated against that person and the other person and another one yet. Over the years, we are full of bitterness against certain people. And let go of that. And instead of bitterness, bring in some sweetness. Bring in some don lechavschus. Bring in some tolerance. Bring in some love. Bring in something like Rochel Imenu. Change your harshness for pity. Change your hatred for love. And the Rabbeinu Shalom will also do the same. And the Sultan who is Soine, the greatest Soine, the big enemy of the Klal Yisrael, he'll also change and be our friend. I always tell the story of my brother, Yechye Boizer, who had a court case on Erev Tisha B'Av with the French government because he was a deserter. At the time they called him to the army, he was in America. So he appealed, and they said, you have to come in Paris, and they set him a date, Erev Tisha B'Av. And it says in the Shulchan Aruch, someone who has a court case with the Goyim, the 9 days, he should try to avoid it, because it's not a good mazel in 9 days. He couldn't avoid it, that was the date, and that's it. So he went, and it happened like this. When the prosecutor, the category, he started to speak, he's always the first one to start to speak, to demand, to explain what is the crime and what is the penalty, and to demand the biggest penalty. He got up and he said, Your Honor, to the judge, my function usually is to accuse people. But in that case, I'll take the defense of that man. That was the story. So this we can also achieve. We can achieve that the Sultan, instead of accusing us on Rosh Hashanah, he'll say, the Boine Shel Olam, I'll take the defense of that person. On what ground? On what base? Because he's changed his Midas Hadin into Rachamim. So I also have to change my Midas Hadin into Rachamim. The Rabbi Yoime brings a Chazal. There is a wonderful hope for the Baalei Tshuva. Is Chazal say, "Amavir al midoisov ma'avirin al kol pshuot." He should forget and forgive what people have done wrong against him. It's called ma'avir al midoisov. He doesn't stay always with these little memories of grudge. When I'm talking to you, each one remembers certain words which were very hurting, which people had told him, that stays forever in the mind. And to forgive and to let go of this, it's not so easy, really. It's not so easy, but it is feasible. We can soften it. We can excuse that person. We can say, he didn't mean it. Oh, he had nothing to say. We can say anything. But instead of keeping the grudge, to soften our heart. And then also the Rabbeinu Shalom will also soften the deen for us. The MS, also there's another point on Rosh Hashanah. We can wish anything we want. It says in the Pasuk, Archef picho v'amaleu. Open wide your mouth and I'll fill it. Chazal say, when you ask for Torah, when you ask for Ruchnius, then don't be afraid to ask a lot. In Gashmias, you cannot ask for a lot. You can ask what I need to do mitzvahs, Torah, Maisim Tovim, but you can't ask a lot. But when you ask for Torah, for mitzvahs, for Maisim Tovim, for Olam Habo, you can ask. So you can ask on Rosh Hashanah, Rabbanu Shalom, I want only one thing, is to love you, is to be happy in your Avodas Hashem. Go ahead and ask it. If you ask that, the Rebbeinu Shalom will surely grant it. The Manchester Rosh Yeshiva, we used to say, when a Yid asks for Ruchnius, there is no reason why the Rebbeinu should not grant him. When he asks for Gashmius, there can be many reasons why he shouldn't want to grant him that demand. But when he asks for Ruchnius, saying the Shmoyne Esche, Ato Chainin Lodom Das, and then straight afterwards we say, Ashiveinu Avinu L'Tzoichosecho, V'korveinu Malkeinu L'Avodosecho. Our first bakoshe, we don't ask for wealth, for power, for Arichus Yomim. We ask for Ashiveinu Avinu L'Tzoichosecho, V'korveinu Malkeinu L'Avodosecho. We want one thing. We want to be glicklich in serving the Rebbeinu Shalom, that's all. What else can we ask? This is Gan Eden on earth. That we should be happy to serve Hashem every day of our life. So why do we go and ask for this, for that, for the other? Let us ask this. Let us ask from the Rebbeinu Shalom, Archef Tichov Amaleyu. We only want one thing, Rebbeinu Shalom, is to serve you Besimche Betuv Levov. That's what we want. And this, there is no reason, if we ask that on Rosh Hashanah, there is no reason that Rebbeinu Shalom should not grant it to us. And like that we'll have both. We'll have Mechilas Avoynes, and we'll have a good Yom. Happy Freilich Yom. Because that's what we want. We want to have a happy Freilich Yom in serving Hashem. And there's no reason why the Rebbeinu should not grant it to us. As I'll say, if you want the Rebbeinu Shalom to do your wish, then you must do his wish. Have you ever heard? It's common sense, really. Have you ever heard a friend a person, one of your neighbors, let's say, or somebody else comes to you and says, I want to be your friend. Say, with pleasure. So yeah, but I'm telling you that because I want to put a condition to our friendship. What is it? That whatever I will want of you, you will do to me. But what you will want of me, I'm not bound to do to you. It's a one-way friendship, in other words. You do what I want of you, but don't ask me, toivis. I only want, you should do my wish, but don't demand of me, I should do your wish. So what would you say to that person? As I say, you didn't even grasp what I said because it's so ridiculous. A friend comes to you and says, I want to be your friend on a condition. You should always do what I want of you, but when you ask me something, I'm not bound to do what you want. So what will you say to that person? You'll say, if you are polite, you'll say, I'll think of it. And then you'll say afterwards, when you close the doors, if you can wait. What a chutzpah. Have you ever heard such a thing? Chutzpah. I want to be your friend. And wait a minute, there is a condition. And what do we do with the Rebbeinu Shalom? That's exactly what we do. Say to Rebbeinu Shalom, Rebbeinu Shalom, Chadesh Aleinu Shalom Teva Mesuko, Kadvash, Nir Lerosh, Velo Lezomo, Nir Bezechuyas Karimon. We want everything. Hashem says, no, do Abisal Tshuva. No, that I can't. So it's a kind of friendship that's really was chutzpah. You beg everything from the Rebbeinu Shalom, and you don't want to do his wish. So therefore, the first thing is to be mekabel, is to accept upon ourselves. We don't want anything. We just want to do your wish. We want to be happy in avodas Hashem. And when we ask that, the Rebbeinu says, oh, that's exactly what I want of you. Very good, so let's be friends. And how do you wish? Well, that's one big thing, what we say in the tefillah of Rosh Hashanah, Kosveinu lechayim, Melech chofetz b'chayim, V'chosmeinu b'sefer chayim, Lemancho zochim lechayim, Kosveinu b'sefer chayim, Lemancho elokim chayim. We are only asking one thing, is to serve you, Rebbeinu Shalom. That's what we want in our life. We don't want anything else. We want our children to be tzaddikim. We want our children to learn Torah. We want ourselves to learn Torah and to do mitzvahs and to enjoy it. That's what we want. Because if someone does mitzvahs and doesn't enjoy it, that's as bad as not doing the mitzvahs. So we are only asking ruchnius, but in that ruchnius lies the best gashmias in the world. Because what's the use to have a lot of money and to be bored, stiff? People who've got millions, they don't know what to do themselves. So they travel, they have a cruise and a cruise ahead, and they're even more bored with it. You know what bored is terrible. It's a terrible yisurim to be bored. Every one of us sometimes has been bored. Now what can we do? I don't know what to pass my time. No, let's play a game of Scrabble. Why? Because you find nothing else to do. It's a kolole. It's in the Tochoches. In the Tochoches it says, "Vayishom yakra shebelokecha b'shigoin u'beivoroin u'besimon leivov." You know what Timon leivov means? The Targum translates Shamiso de libo. Shimum. Shimum means boredom. When someone ashimum, the Mishnah says, "Abatola mevieli de shimum." Person has nothing to do. It brings to shimum, to boredom. Boredom is it's a sickness of the mind, boredom. Person who is bored. It's a sickness. It's a yisurim. How is it possible a yid who is Zoyved es Hashem besimche should be bored? How is it possible? You have nothing to do. Thank the Rebbeinu Shalom that you are alive. You have nothing to do. You are bored. Thank the Rebbeinu Shalom I'm alive. And thank him again. And again and again. And make a nikira with it. And sing the Hallel. What do you mean? You have nothing to do. You are bored. How is it possible a yid should be bored? That itself shows what Rashi says. V'timon leivov oitem alev. That means the heart is surrounded with a thick layer of dirt. That shows it. The person is bored. How can't he see the simcha, the joy to be alive and be able to say a bracha? To answer Amen. There's a Medrash Rabba in the beginning of Pashas Kisovoi that says something wonderful. Ein Godol Yoiser Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is nothing greater in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom. There is nothing greater, you hear, as the person, as a Yid who answers Amen on someone else's bracha. Ein Godol Yoiser Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu kemoi anias Amen sheYisrael oinim. Like when the Yidden answer Amen. I'm asking you something. Answer Amen. There is nothing as great as answering Amen. What? How do you understand this, Chazal? There is nothing as great as answering Amen. But what about Talmud Torah? What about Gemilus Chasodim? What about Shmiras Shabbos? Amen, a little Amen is the greatest thing. There's nothing as great. Ein Godol Yoiser Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu me'anias Amen. It demands an explanation. The explanation is this. The Rambam says, when the Rebbeinu Shalom puts in the scales our mitzvahs and our averos, the Rambam says, it's not the quantity that counts, it's the quality. Because he says there is one mitzvah that can weigh like 1,000 mitzvahs. One single mitzvah. The same for the averos. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. There is neither one avera which weighs as much as 1,000 averos. And he says, and no one knows how to weigh the mitzvahs and the averos, only the Rebbeinu Shalom. Comes Rabbi Yisrael Salanter and he says, I'm going to tell you one measure how you can weigh the mitzvahs and the averos. And he brings a Gemara. The Gemara Maseches Menachos The Gemara says this: the easier it is for a person to do a mitzvah and he doesn't do it, the more punishment he gets for it. In other words, a mitzvah which is very easy to do is a great mitzvah. A mitzvah which is hard to do is not such a great mitzvah. Because if it's a mitzvah which is hard to do and you don't do it, you don't get so much punishment because it was hard to do. But a mitzvah which was very easy to do and you didn't do it, then there's a big oynish for that mitzvah. And he brings on Gemara. A mitzvah which is, it's also logical. And the same for an aveira. An aveira which is easy to refrain from, and you still do it, one gets a lot. That's his worth 1,000 aveiras. But an aveira which is very hard to refrain from, then it doesn't weigh as much. And Be'emes Rashi brings a chazal in the beginning of Pashas Eikev. V'yo'ekev tishmeru nesadvorim bo'ele. Rashi says, a mitzvah is a mitzvah shodomdosh be'eikev tishmeun. If the mitzvahs which a person tramples with his foot, you will do, then you will be all right. Then I'll give you brachas. And he brings a pasuk from David HaMelech. David HaMelech said, Avoin akeva yesubein. He said, B'yoyim adin, avoin shodomdosh be'eikev, em mesevim osel yom. In the Yom Adin, which are the avoinas that surround the person the most? Which are the avoinas who have to be afraid in Yom Adin? Those are the avoinas which were easily avoided. And the more easy it is to avoid them, the more punishment there is on them. Only why do we do them? Because we can't be bothered. We can't be bothered. We can't be bothered to answer Amen. How many people who don't answer Amen? You have to say, why don't you answer Amen? Is it hard? Are you tired? It costs you money. You zoomed to answer Amen? No, it's just, you can't be bothered. You never thought about it. Yeah. Those Averas are the worst. Those are the Meile. The mitzvah, Eilecha Godol, Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yoiser, Mi'anias Omein, She'Yisrael Oinim, means that category of mitzvahs. Understand? We're not excluding now Talmud Torah, we're not excluding Chas v'Sholom, Gemilos HaSodim, or Shmir HaShabbos, only telling what is the gather of a heavy mitzvah. A heavy mitzvah is those mitzvahs which you can easily do. So that can be in all kinds of mitzvahs. It can be in Talmud Torah. For example, someone is wasting his time. So we say, why don't you go to Beis HaMidrash to learn? He says, I can't learn. And so we tell him, okay, you can't learn, so go to Beis HaMidrash and read Tehillim. Now what can you say then? We say, I can't read. We know he knows how to read. So that is an example that in every category of mitzvahs, someone, for example, doesn't want to give to Meshulachim, doesn't want to give tzedakah. He says, I don't have enough money. Oh, you can't give 5p? Say, it's a shame to give 5p. Some people say, it's a shame. I can't give 5p. Why is it a shame? But if you can't give more than 5p, is it a reason to refuse? Outright. Those 5p you give for the Rebbeinu Shel Olam, it's a Zag mitzvah. Just because you say, what is 5p anyway? Or you send an appeal. Now we receive a lot of appeals. Yes? So people say, oh, so many appeals. How can I answer to all the appeals? He's making a big mistake. Can't you send £1? Oh, I'm ashamed. £1. They'll see my address. But I've sent £1. So I say like this, listen, if all those people who receive appeals would send £1, that would make them thousands of pounds. But we all make the same mistake. We say, better not send anything rather than to put myself to shame. It's a wrong cheshbon. And this is a neglect. This is a sheer neglect. We put our covered in front of the mitzvah, you understand? The same, that is what Chazal wanted to say. When you take an omen, you answer it with kavone. You don't say, what is an omen? That's nothing. Or you take a broche, and you take the time to savor the to taste every word you say. Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shakol li b'dvorim. The Rebbeinu Shem is azag geschmack. This mitzvah is so important. It weighs thousands of other mitzvahs. And we make the mistake before we say, oh, tshuva is so gross, ich muss werden a malach. I can't, it's impossible to do tshuva, to change from a devil to a malach. Oh, so I give up. I don't want to be reminded of tshuva. Because I know tshuva is too hard. It's impossible. It's above my task. So comes Rabbi Yisrael Salant there and tells us, what? Tshuva is not feasible, but it says in the Torah, it's very easy. So what is the mistake? The mistake is we don't know that tshuva is davke on those things which we neglect to do because they're so easy. They're so easy to do and we neglect to do. We don't give appreciation to Aniyah Somei. And that's what Chazal want to say when they say, Ein Godel Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kemo Omein She'Yisrael Bevorachim. Doesn't mean Dafke Omein. It means it's an example, it's a tzio of what kind of mitzvahs weigh the most in Yom Adin.